Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I process hardwood shorts that I purchase at my local hardwood dealer. If you go into a hardwood dealer, I'm not talking about a Home Depot or a Lowe's, you're never gonna find stuff like that there. That's mostly just finished lumber and plywood that you might find at those places. If you go to an actual hardwood dealer, which I strongly encourage that you get used to, go in and check out their hardwood shorts. Typically you'll see things like walnut, oak, cherry, maple for sure. There's just a whole range of species depending on your local market and depending on what your dealer can get in at a given time. And in fact, in my shop, for most of my projects, that's pretty much all I buy. Usually hardwood shorts are discounted prices. Typically a board is no longer than 4 or 5 feet, although a rough length board will be over 6 feet. And sometimes I've even found them over 7 feet long. Now it's all rough cut lumber. There's nothing finished about it. You have to process every board yourself, but it is completely worth it because you do save quite a bit of money. In today's video, I'm going to show you briefly what I'm doing with a piece of basswood that I'm using to make carving blanks out of. When I'm breaking down a board for a given project, it's the same process that I go through every time. Now I'm going to go into detail about my method. It's fairly simple and straightforward. However, some of you might do it a little differently and your setup may vary depending on the tools you have available. So with that, let's get to it. So here's a good example of something that I'm working on right now that I'll take you through. This is a little off topic, but it kind of serves the same purpose. These are 2 basswood boards that have been glued together, basically laminated together, and they are now 1 2-inch piece, or they will be 1 2-inch piece when I'm done. Probably I'll get about 20 to 24 carving blanks out of this. Unless you guys want to see wood carving, I'm not going to be doing a lot of wood carving right on this channel, but it's one of the things that I do as sort of an offshoot of my regular woodworking. As you can see, it's still very rough. Obviously it's not squared off or anything. There are rough edges. They don't line up. For carving blanks, I don't need to surface plane again. If it was for furniture or something like that, then I would probably go through another round of surface planing. Now, in a larger workshop setup, you would maybe run this through the jointer a few times to get 1 square edge. In my small shop setup where I don't have a jointer, my next step is still to square the boards, but I'm going to do that on the table saw. So here's a perfect example of what you can expect when you get hardwood shorts. You will see defects like splits and cracks and uneven surfaces. Most of the defects will probably be on the ends like you see here. So that would actually be thought of as unusable board. So when they price it, usually they price it at, say this true length of this board is just over 6 feet. They're pricing it at about 5 feet is what they're going to charge me for this. Now the reality is I can still use this piece of board because I'm using this for a carving project. I'm going to carve out a lot of that defect anyway, and there's still a lot of usable wood there. Now if this was a furniture project, that would be waste. Because I know my blanks are going to be between 6 inches and 18 inches, I'm going to cut this board into 2-foot pieces to start with. So what I do is I get it to rough length first. What I mean by rough length is I mean it's going to be not the true dimension based on whatever plans I'm working off of. It's going to be the rough dimension. If I'm working off a set of plans and I need table legs that are 18 inches, I'm going to cut my pieces at about 22 inches. So that should give me plenty of room to square up that smaller board before I go into the subsequent steps. So I take a piece of factory finished poplar, and I've been keeping this around for this purpose of being able to joint boards, and it's worked out really well. So I'm going to line it up and give it just about a 1/16, as close as you can on either end. Make sure nothing's sticking out so that you've got a nice edge to work with. And I just come along and hit it with a couple of brads. And now my boards are stuck to it. And that's pretty much it. I've got one decent edge to work with now. Now I've got a decent edge to work with. Still a little bit rough, so we're going to trim that again. But now we're going to do the other side. So we flip it, start on the other side. So now we have a blank piece that I can continue to work with. Now I've got a nice edge on either side. If I want to do a final step and run it through my planer, I can do that. But because it's a carving blank, I'm not going to do that. I just need a good, decent edge on it. Because I don't have a jointer, I usually start with my thickness planer to get one smooth side done on a board. Now that sometimes involves using the aid of a sled to run it through, and then once I've got a smooth side to work with, I move over to the miter saw and rough cut my board according to the rough lengths that I need for my project. Then I move over to the table saw and do my little jointing trick by using my piece of finished lumber attached to the top of the board. That allows me to get nice square edges on both sides at the end of that process, and it's fairly quick. And then I finish off by cutting each piece to final length and squaring it off. At the end of that process, I have a nice square board or piece of lumber. Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it needs a little more work in terms of getting it glue ready. I'll have to take it through my planer as I shown earlier, but for the most part, that is the process that I use in my small shop. Well, that concludes breaking down boards from hardwood shorts. My method is a little outside of the ordinary, but that is because I'm trying to do things a little safer in my shop. And that starts with not trying to run really big long boards needlessly through my table saw. It's that time of year. If you want to donate to this channel, head on over to my donation page right over here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. There are a couple more videos on this side you can watch. Until next time, thanks for watching and have a great day.